Hey everyone, welcome to the Thunk Tank podcast. So this is part 2 of our conversation with our friend and wine expert, Alycia. So if you have not heard part 1, go ahead and do that because this conversation just picks up where we left off. We cut the conversation in half. Otherwise, if you want to support the podcast, consider going over to patreon.com/thunktankpodcast and you can donate as little as $1 per episode, I believe, and helps us keep this thing going. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking, and we're drinking,
And we're thunked.
and we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point.
Would you
That's how you make Yellow Hulk.
You'd have to eat the peels also.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You just got to be the banana, man. Wait, so why do they say on it whether or not it contains sulfites then on the wine? Why do they?
I don't know. Some people,
Is that not a legal thing they have to put on there?
yeah, they have to put it on there, and I don't know why.
Oh,
Because it's not harmful. But there's a very small percentage of people who are allergic to sulfites or to sulfur, and they know that though. Like they're like, no, I don't eat dried apricots. They're like, no.
Yeah,
I
when
don't.
you ask them the peanut butter and jelly thing, they're like, "Oh hell no, I've never touched jelly." Like,
Yeah, they're like, oh no, I don't. I can't have raisins.
oh, so it's almost the equivalent of saying may contain or contains like
processed in the same factory as tree nuts and peanuts and
it's a disclaimer
whatever.
like that essentially.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like how this is just turning into a Q&A wine.
This is awesome.
I'm jotting
learning
down
so much.
questions that are coming up as you answer one. I'm like, oh well, yeah, what about this? What about that? What about this? So because I'm looking at the bottle, I was like, oh, sulfites, okay. But it also says something on here, and I want to know if you think, is this like marketing nonsense because it's cheaper, or is this actually true? The screw top closure helps retain the purity of flavors and freshness. Now, is that because screw tops are cheaper, or because I know there are issues with corks, like the artificial corks you see more and more. I would think that's trashy, but I guess they don't rot as well, or the wine can actually last longer than than a natural cork. And then I also want to ask you about those like weird needle things that stab through the cork. I have a lot of questions about cork.
I might be able to find one of. Never mind. No one.
That's so
no one's gonna
cool.
see this.
Of course you have one. Do they work?
Yeah, they.
I thought I had heard somewhere that cork was going extinct, and people must have asked Google this so much that all I type in was cork going, and Google has an immediate answer that says not extinct.
Oh my god, yeah.
Before I even finish typing.
That makes sense.
I I heard somewhere that it was endangered, but I don't think so.
It's in danger. Yeah, whenever I see a wild cork now, I try to treat it well,
It is really cool how they harvest it. They like peel the bark off and then it grows back. So you could just because they're not planting new ones.
And then it ends up falling behind my oven, and you find it a year later, and you're like, "Hey, cork."
Yeah,
Can
you
reuse
are.
cork?
Yeah, I think that wine. Well, actually, I mean, it's. I really think that wine under natural cork will last longer than wine under artificial cork or Stelvin, which is a screw cap.
Stelvin?
Yeah, the screw cap. It's called. The company that makes it's called Stelvin. S-T-E.
Oh, I see.
S-T-E.
Is the idea that it just seals better in terms of air getting in with a
Or it
cork?
reseals better?
Well, with a cork,
Or do you think it has some contribution to the flavor or something?
there's risk with the corks, with real cork. So there's when they clean the corks, sometimes they there's a chemical called TCA, tetrachloric hydral acid, something like that. And then when someone says that a bottle of wine is corked, this aroma is so strong that it actually faults the wine in the bottle. Mm-hmm. So that's the risk with real cork. So you have no risk with that with a Stelvin closure, and you have no risk with that with a rubber cork. Although wines with a screw cap or with a rubber cork, they're not. Those wines are not under that closure because they're going to age long. Those wines are supposed to be consumed very fresh.
Yeah.
And but you always have that risk. You buy a $50 bottle of wine, you open it up, and it smells like wet newspapers, which is like what it really smells like. And it's like your wine is ruined. You can't even
That happens with craft beer sometimes too, right, Johnny? Where you
Especially
think,
with the stout, right?
yeah, you think you're aging a stout, and then you crack into it 2 years later, and something went awry, right?
It's with beer it tends to be dissolved oxygen is what kills beer, aging beer more than anything. And part of that is there's so many new breweries. It's like this brewery is not even 10 years old, so like they don't know how to package beer to last. They might not know how to package a beer to last 10 years in a bottle yet.
And that's
They're doing it by hand.
Is that
They've
something
never-
that initially gets in, or something that gets in at some point? It's something initially, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
And you don't know
like,
it initially, then you can only find out
even-
later.
right, because it's sealed.
Yeah.
even when you can like an IPA, something you're not going to age, or like a lager, you're still gonna like test it for dissolved oxygen, and if it's too high, you might be like, this is just going to go into kegs, or like this is just going to be sold locally, or because it just shortens the shelf life drastically. Oxygen in beer causes like a wet cardboard kind of taste too. I don't think wine has that same flavor because same issue with oxygen, right?
Not with oxygen. Oxygen. I mean, if it's in the bottle before the cork goes in or before the bottle is sealed, I mean that's a problem because it'll give oxygen to wine. Actually, gives a more of a nutty characteristic, like a caramel nutty kind of thing. But when you want to taste something really fresh, like Ferrari Carano Fumilak, you don't want it to taste like. I also want to just. I mean, maybe this can be edited out or something, but if you guys have had the same glass of wine in your glass, I would dump it and pour a new one because I had to dump mine because it got too warm. And
So by dump you mean chug, and by pour a new one
sure.
you mean pour a new one.
Okay,
Gotcha.
wait, no.
Okay.
I feel bad. I hate it, but I don't like wine.
so can you dump it out and try and pour a new glass
No,
or
Kara,
put
give
it back
me
in the fridge?
yours. I'll finish it for
Okay.
you.
Well, no, I gave it to Johnny.
I poured it into mine.
But
Well,
what?
what don't you like about it,
I
Kara?
feel like such.
Yeah. And what don't you like about it?
The smell is good. I like that.
Is that a new glass? Pour yourself a new glass.
No. Like what I would call like the mouthfeel in a beer, like where it like hits the back of your throat. Damn it! I got another. And it's this like odd, very sweet, acidic. How do I describe it? It makes me make a face that like most people make when they drink scotch, but I like scotch. I find wines really hard, and I feel like a plebeian.
There's no accounting for taste.
Yeah,
There really
I mean,
isn't.
it's
Whatever you
possible
like,
that
you like.
I want to like.
you just
wine.
don't like it, right? But
Well, there's one type of wine that I have consistently liked, and it's a Spanish wine that starts with an S, and I can't fucking remember what kind.
Was it the brand that has an S?
No, it's the type of wine.
So when you spit though versus swallowing, because like specifically in beer tasting, it's kind of hard to spit because it's carbonated and like it releases a lot of aromatics up into like your like olfactory, like up in the back of the throat. I forget what it's called in the body,
olfactory.
but
Yeah.
but like you get that feeds into the aromatics, which feeds into taste. Like you went over that already. So do you get much of a difference between like washing it over your palate down your throat and actually spitting it out?
So when you spit wine, the proper technique is actually to swallow a little bit of it.
Okay.
So
No, I was
because-
wrong. It's a Tempranillo.
because there's taste buds on your tongue go like very far down your throat, kind of because your tongue is like this really long muscle,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
And so you are supposed to swallow a little bit, to just coat that and then spit the rest of it out. So you want to really cover all parts of your mouth.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. I would have spit it all. I mean, I'm drinking all of it, but I would have spit it out if I was.
By the way, we just poured a fresh glass here. What a change in the taste when it's not been sitting in my glass for like 15 minutes.
Really? Yeah, that's good.
I mean,
Because
it's like it started. All the flavors started to get muted when it was sitting in my glass, and then when I poured it fresh, obviously the temperature was a little colder, but like it was like it sprung back to life.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Was that a temperature thing, or you think it's just like the aromatic, like it came out of the bottle and it's just kind of more alive kind of vibe?
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
smelling.
it's a temperature thing.
I'm smelling Kara's fresh poured one and my old one from when we first poured, and like hers is so much more fruity on the nose. This one, the old one, it just smells like wine.
Johnny, did you leave the cap on or off? Does that make it? And Alycia, does
Oh,
that
I
make a
left it
difference?
on.
Do you think?
Not with this wine. Not with young wines. Not with wines that are fresh and should be consumed young. Wines that are older, because this hole is so small. There's not a lot of oxygen that can
That's
really
true,
get
yeah.
into it.
I mean, if you're home and you're like opening a bottle and you're going to like have a glass while cooking dinner, have another glass with dinner, maybe a glass after dinner, are you leaving the bottle open the whole night? Or
No,
are you like
'cause
recorking it at all or what?
I
I'm pretty
recork
sure-
it typically because I'm scared of knocking it over.
And maybe like a bug flying in there or something?
Yeah.
We've had some ants coming into our kitchen. I feel like they would love wine.
What types of wine do need to breathe?
So the types of wines that you need to breathe are wines that are richer, wines that are older, because if you're drinking a wine that's older, so let's say you're drinking something from like, a Bordeaux that is supposed to age from like 2005, if you don't let it, what they call breathe, I mean, that wine has been stuck in that bottle for like 15 years or whatever, so it's its first time seeing oxygen in a really long time, and all of these molecules in there are kind of still alive and living. So if it reintroduce it to oxygen, it'll kind of like, it comes back to life. It's like dormant when it's just sitting under cork for that long. So that's when, maybe a decanter would be involved, or I don't have a decanter, I just have this water pitcher that I use.
I had a decanter and it broke almost immediately. Like those things are hard to not just bang into your cabinet and break.
Yeah.
I saw online you just take an empty wine bottle and pour it into that and then pour it back.
Yeah, that works too. It's just like, getting some like, some movement in the wine because it's just been sitting there.
Aeration, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You do the same thing with coffee. When you brew a pour over coffee, you swirl it around in whatever vessel you have.
Yeah.
And it really does change the flavor. If you do a pour over directly into your coffee cup,
It's
it
gonna be
doesn't
s-
taste
it's
as
gonna
good
be so-
as if you swirl it
it's
into
not
a
going to
different
be
cup.
even. Yeah.
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 It's not even because the extraction
extraction's
is
not
different.
even, yeah.
But there's something about just like the sort of, I almost think it's almost like fluffing up laundry before you fold it. You're just kind of like getting everything.
I think you're ready to wine taste, Luke. It's like fluffing laundry.
Yeah, I'm getting like tennis ball laundry flavors out of this.
I'm getting notes of downy and very soft fabric.
Yeah, I feel like I'll always be a wine noob, but I absolutely really do love wine. And the reason why I say I'm a noob is because I really like this wine, and the reason why I like it is because yes, it's fruity, it smells fruity, it tastes fruity, but the idea that comes to my mind is it just tastes like delicious grape juice to me. It tastes as if it's just fresh, delicious alcoholic grape juice, and I love it. And shitty wine that I don't like, does not taste like that. Like we were saying earlier, it has that one note sort of metallic or just tinny, some sort of processed.
You know what else shitty
aftertaste
wine has
instead.
to
This
it,
tastes
though?
like delicious grape juice to me.
To me, shitty wine always has an element to the
Oh.
taste where I think to myself, I'm going to regret this tomorrow. Like if I go,
Yeah.
if I go 3 glasses of this, I'm not going to feel well tomorrow.
I'm gonna feel so sulfited in the morning.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
sulfited in arsenic.
I'm gonna be sulfat.
So-
Oh man.
That leads to a direct question I have, which is there's a wine I kind of like that I'm wondering if you're going to give me some hate for. I think it's a decent wine. Is that $2 Chuck from what is it, Trader Joe's?
That's
Is
just
that
such
it?
an
Like-
objectively great dumb name for a bottle of wine. I
They
love.
even call it that. It's super cheap, and like I don't know. I've gotten like $6, $7, $8, $9 bottles of wine that aren't as good. That you'll be more hungover. Like you would think, such a cheap bottle of wine, you're going to feel like shit the next day, but it's not that bad.
$2 Chuck.
Isn't $2 Chuck actually like $8 now?
Now it is, but still, it's pretty cheap.
Inflation.
Right. Nothing at
I've
the dollar
only-
store costs $1, but it's cheap.
I've only had $2 Chuck once because we don't have our Trader Joe's can't sell wine here in the Northeast. So, but the one time I had it, it was a long time ago. I think I was like 19, and I started my wine education.
You mean
and I
21?
remember, yeah, sorry, and I. And I
Those
remember
feds are going to
actually
come
saying-
after you.
I
It's
Hear
remember,
this
Canada.
podcast.
It's Canada. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can do that there.
I remember enjoying it. Actually, I remember saying like, "Oh, this isn't that bad."
Right?
Like,
It's pretty good.
At the
Okay.
time, I think it was like $5.
Well, it fits with your ethos that you were saying before of just like, hey, fuck it, just pour it in a jelly jar and enjoy it.
Well,
You know,
this is what we've talked about too with craft beer, where we all love craft beer and there's so many different styles and flavor profiles and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, there's also just everyday beer, and some of that is really bad. Rolling Rock or Bud Light is not great. But a Miller Lite?
yeah, Miller Lite's fine.
Miller
Like,
Light's fantastic.
I mean,
It's
with
light,
a
it's
pizza
got
or some
body.
fried chicken, holy shit, is Miller Lite
It's
good.
fantastic.
I know, right? Or if you're going to watch the sunset at the beach and you just want to fill your backpack up with beer, make it Miller Lite. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and you can have both worlds. You can appreciate that there's a time and place to crush Miller Lite. But if you want to enjoy the aromas and the flavors and the profiles, well, there's other beer for that.
In fact, Alycia, I'm actually more excited that you were all like drink it out of a jelly jar attitude, because with craft beer, which I know a little bit more about, I actually respect people more when they're like, oh, we're going to start with these fancy IPAs, but then I got an 18 of Miller Lite. I'm like, cool. So you're cool. You're not like all haughty and arrogant about like, oh, and then we're going to switch to this, and oh, make sure we switch glasses between the stout and the this and the. It's just like so enjoy the fucking beer.
When we do like these educational beer tastings at the brewery with staff, it's like that. It's kind of pretentious and stuff because you're working. You know, we need like official notes, like you're on the clock. Like it's fun to drink beer, but you can't just be hanging out and telling dirty jokes. Like you're supposed to be doing actual like tasting panels. But when you get those same brewers to come over to your house for like a barbecue or like a bottle share tasting, it's like you'll have a bunch of fancy beers, but like
They never want to drink them.
but they'll take a sip and then they'll grab a PBR from the fridge. Or like the person who has a really good palate and you really respect, they'll be smoking a cigarette and drinking your like $16 barrel aged beer. They're like, this is delicious. And you're like, yeah, of course it is.
Alycia,
So time and place for it. You know?
what is the best wine that you've ever tasted? Or like maybe there was an experience that came along with that wine that made it the best.
I've tasted so many wines.
70 a week, I've heard.
I know you have a good answer to this because you just approach that how Elon Musk answers a question where he kind of pauses and just processes all the algorithms to like yes.
He's just like beep up boop.
so
beep,
many
boop,
data
beep,
points
boop,
to
boop,
process.
Scanning wine,
there,
scanning
yeah,
wine,
scanning
beep,
wine
boop, boop, boop,
profiles.
boop, boop, boop.
Do they make cloudy wines, like unfiltered wines, like Nagori type sake?
Yes. Although I have to say something about Nagori type sake. It is filtered. Sake has to be filtered under Japanese law. It's just less filtered. It's filtered.
I love it. I love Nagori.
I love sake.
I like rice wine.
All right, you're gonna come back for a Nagori cast, though. We'll definitely do one.
I can actually like I have sake in my fridge right now. If you want, never mind. But
We might do a part 2 to this. This might roll right into the drunk tank.
Yeah, that's for
I've always
drunk
wanted
tank.
to try
Yeah,
it.
right.
oh shit, yeah. I hope I'm not going on for this so long. But anyway, the best wine I've ever had, man. Oh man. All right, so I can come up with 2.
By the way, when she just said 2, she held up her pointer finger and her pinky. Or I think that's
I
what
did
you
it.
did.
Oh.
Did I?
No,
No, I
No,
did it.
she just got very far apart.
Oh,
fingers.
okay.
That's also good that
I think the
that,
Skype camera just, or I've
No,
been
that's good that
having
You're
Luke
very
saw
far
it
away.
that way
glasses.
because
the
Luke's
wine
had
is
enough
working.
Yingling and wine at this point. Clearly,
Okay, so my favorite bottle of wine that I've ever had was a champagne. It was out of Magnum. So it's a 1.5 liter bottle. It was Biacart Salmon 1999 vintage. And the second favorite, and you know what? And I don't even know if the wine was good or if I was just having a good time in that place that I was. In that situation, I was invited to like a very exclusive, very fucking like uppity, snobby champagne party around Christmas time. So Michael, my husband and I both went, and you know, if you were invited, you could come. Your only caveat is that you had to bring a bottle of champagne. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm the youngest person at this party. These people have been in the industry for like 30 years. It's at their house. Like, this is so crazy. So I found this bottle at an account that I call on. It costs like $100 or something like that. Where if you look online, this bottle of wine is like, it's like $400, $500. So I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to buy that. And I brought it, and they were so impressed. And I'm like, I had never tasted this wine before. I had to like do all this research on the winery in case people asked me questions and all that. So, so that night, I think that we crushed like there were like 10 of us. We crushed like 25 bottles of champagne or something like that. It was
I'm not
also
good
the first,
at math, but that's a lot of champagne.
It was also the
It's
first
a lot of
bottle
champagne regardless.
Yeah. It was the first bottle of champagne I'd ever sabered also. And
Nice.
that was really cool. And then so what we did, it was snowing out because it was around Christmas time. When we were done with the bottle, we just chucked the bottle onto the front yard. So the next morning,
It sounds
just,
magical, yeah.
littered with champagne bottles. And I mean, that wine was, oh my gosh, it was absolutely fantastic. It was really rich and creamy, which is the style of champagne that I really enjoy. And it was from 1999, so that was blowing my mind too, that like this champagne was like.
Wait, and what year did you drink this in?
What is it now? 2020, 2007? Either 2016 or 2017.
Is that the oldest wine you've had?
The oldest wine I've had was from I might have had a port wine that was from like 1968.
Cool.
But I've had,
Your wine's better.
That's old.
not necessarily, sometimes.
Aren't there like hundreds of years old wines that people sell for like millions of dollars?
Oh, we should.
Is Dom
Yeah.
Perignon that good? Like 48 or whatever?
No, I've never had Dom.
Pretty hard to get.
So you had the champagne.
Yep.
You could trade your car in for a bottle, I'm sure, but probably not worth it.
No, it's not. It's only like $300. But not only. I mean, only $300. But second, my second favorite bottle was like, I think Bonzi and I had been dating for like 5 years or something like that, and this guy was selling his wine shop, and he had all these really cool old vintage bottles of California Cabernet from back when, when it was really good and people weren't adding crap to their wine and everything. So he had a bottle of 1997 Ridge Montebello, which is mostly a Cabernet. Ridge Estate is where the first wineries ever list the ingredients on the back of their label, and I think there are only 4 people in like the country that do that. Shin Estate Vineyards on Long Island being one of them.
Grapes, water, yeast.
Yeah, and then like sulfur, if there's sulfur, like it's just like really, really transparent.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so that I bought that. We had a venison roast and sat at our little dining room table in our little apartment, and it was just fucking awesome. It was amazing.
These
I
all
just
sound like
answered it.
magical experiences.
Yeah, I was
too.
going to say the way that
Yeah.
you're saying the memory is not just like the wine was this and the flavor
Yeah.
was this. It's more of the whole memory of the experience.
But that's
I
part
was
of-
here with these people.
But that's
doing
part of the
this.
magical quality of. I think you mentioned that earlier. How it's about as well the environment that you're in is right.
Yeah, I think it's a whole experience, and I think that's
Right.
kind of what got me into wine in the first place.
Oh shit, that's a 300. That's over $388 wine.
I bought it for $100.
Nice.
Well, she knows people.
I do. He was selling the store, and I said, Terry, he was selling it for like 170 because he had it since like 2000, and I said, how much can I buy this for? How much are you going to sell it to the next person for? He's like,
You're like T-Bone.
for $100.
T-Bone, you know me.
He's like,
Come on.
Nice. That's great.
I think it speaks to the way memory formation works too. Like your brain tends to attach multiple things to a memory. Like if you smell, like this happened to me maybe a couple months ago. A woman walked past me and she was wearing the same perfume that my grandma used to wear. And I was just like flooded with memories of my grandma. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I think like wine memories like tend to attach more so than beer for me. Like I've had like a few amazing wines and I always like have this rich memory of where I was when I had it.
Yeah, I mean that I think comes back to like the open can of tennis balls thing versus petrol and Riesling.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
opened a can of new tennis balls. I don't
Really?
I've
I
opened a
don't
can
even-
of new.
I don't play tennis.
I've opened a can of new racket balls.
I feel like I've played you in tennis.
and
John.
it is
That's Joe. That's
it
more
is a
like
distinct smell.
a cider or a mead.
It's a distinct smell for sure.
I've smelled a can. My dad used to own a sporting goods store, basically.
Used
so
to huff tennis ball.
I
containers,
used to
right?
huff a lot of tennis balls.
That makes a lot of sense.
But it also makes sense if
checks
you
out.
think about it. If you got in a car crash and rolled into the side of like a ditch on the side of the road and crawled after 2 days to safety, and I said, "Oh my God, you're still alive," and you said, "Yeah, I need something to drink," and I gave you a really good scotch, and you you would just be like, yeah, and chug it and not even really think about the flavor. But if you just instead got engaged and you were riding a high and, oh, let's celebrate, and you try this really good scotch, you're going to notice and appreciate it more, right?
Well,
go ahead.
it's interesting that you say that, Joe, because when we started having to wear all the hand sanitizer all the time, my muscle memory went right back to college drinking Burnett's Pink Lemonade, and I was like, I like every time I put hand sanitizer on, I'm like,
yes,
you know,
yeah,
I know
have that
what you mean.
association. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You just triggered a similar memory for me with, I realized I hate coconut. And anything, any type of food or beer with coconut in it, I just can't handle because it reminds me of being slathered in sunscreen as a fat kid in Florida. You just have that that greasy tight feeling on your skin when you have sunscreen on, and it's just that fake I can't. It's ruined coconut for me.
That's
which is a shame.
different.
It's a great flavor.
That's something different between you and I, Johnny. I love the smell of sunscreen. I love that. I put when I put my tank tops on when I change my closet over and I smell that sunscreen left over from fish shows from last summer, I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
Well, you're kind of a woodland.
You have that
fairy
association,
nymph.
yeah.
You and Bonsi are both kind of woodland magical creatures in my opinion.
Bonsi's an old tree.
He is literally an old tree. That
Actually,
is
We
true.
saw it at a fish show.
I saw him turn it back into a tree.
That's
I
true.
saw him. I
We
saw
saw
him
him
go
work.
back and forth between tree and human.
Reverting to
Tree
his
and man,
original
yeah.
form, yeah.
Very impressive. We should get him on the cast just to do that.
Yeah.
That's funny you said the sunscreen thing. Me and Yanka, my fiance, have the
Current
same. Every time I use this specific sunscreen that I bought for going to Turkey, it smells like where we vacation in Turkey, and I'll put it on before we go for a walk or something. And then if she comes close to me, she'll be like, "Bodrum." I'm like, "Yep." 'Cause
Weird.
she could smell
Yeah.
that I put Bodrum sunscreen on, which is the 100 SPF, whatever. It just has a distinct smell to it.
Yeah.
I love the way smell and taste can just sync up to memory in such a weird way.
Yeah.
You don't even know you have access to that level of memory.
Yeah, people just don't consider it, but it's very
there.
distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Yingling and Miller really that good then, Luke? Or did we just drink a lot of it when we were definitely at least 21 in high school? And so we associate all those good memories of hanging out with a friend and having a beer.
You're Stockholmed into it.
Yeah.
Well,
is it?
I don't
is
know
it-
about you, Johnny, but when I smell that, when you open a beer and you just smell a Yinling or a Miller Lite or something, I do get flooded with just the positive memories of all the times I've opened beer. And it's not specific because I've opened way too many Yinlings in my day. But with a good wine.
But you could still be fooled, Luke. You still might drink the seawater.
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
That's true. But I
think
do
Alicia's heard
I
that.
do feel there are limitations to this. I feel like because I definitely we actually so in quarantine our go-to light kind of just hanging out beer is Miller Lite because I think it's actually a really good just light everyday whatever.
We buy
beer.
it from our friend in units of 36.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if we want to have a good craft beer, take that any day. But if you want to just have a light beer, you're not looking to have a 300 calorie beer. You have a light beer, whatever. But we
Hashtag don't get fat in quarantine.
which we did, but we had so many Miller Lights that at a certain point we said, oh, let's just mix it up. Let's get a Coors Light. When was the last time we had Coors Light? And we went through a bunch of the older beers, Coors Light, Rolling Rock. And these are beers that we had strong positive associations with. I remember
Especially Coors, yeah.
me and Luke first really became friends where we would go to the beach and crush rocks together.
Yeah.
We would just load
I
up our
remember I
backpacks with
became
Rolling
friends with
Rocks.
Joe because Johnny
Yeah.
was like, I'm moving away to college. You should hit up my brother. And I was like,
I needed
all
to.
right.
I needed to pair each of you off because I was like, my brother needs a friend and my friend needs a friend, and they're gonna be sad by themselves. So
I
just
biked
paired
to
you
the
guys
beach with a
together.
backpack filled with Rolling Rocks,
Yeah.
and we just crushed them.
So that's as positive of an association as I can think for a shitty beer.
See-
and we got a 12 case of Rolling Rock a couple weeks ago, and it tasted like ass, just straight up ass.
No, see the
It was
Burrow,
awful.
the Rolling Rocks remind me of crushing the $6.99 12 packs that they had at Handy Pantry at the
Oh,
Burrow.
God.
We could get two of them for $14. You got 24 pack for less than $15, and we would just drink warm Rolling Rocks on that awful couch.
Oh yeah,
and
Alycia,
like I still
Alycia
love
knows Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
Alycia, we drank a lot of Rolling Rocks in that house together. Like,
My first and last time I ever had a Rolling Rock was with everyone who's on this podcast right now.
So you did it. You
know
did
what?
it right.
That might be mine
not
as
a
well.
good-
That might be true for me as well.
Trust us. We tried them last week. It did not go well. It was
Alycia,
bad.
what's a really good style? Speaking about like crushable beers, is there like a crushable wine style?
Yes, there are so many crushable wine styles. I mean, I chose these wines because I thought they were kind of crushable. I know you don't agree,
I've been
Carol,
crushing
but
them.
Because the
yeah, I'm
aftertaste
like on my
it's
third
too
glass.
acidic.
So, yeah, so especially with summertime coming up, it's really important to like have some crushable wines in your fridges you can like throw in your cooler and bring to the beach, or like in your whatever, like, you know, just things that you don't need food for, just like chug them. My favorite chuggable, crushable summer wine is a style of wine called Muscadet, which is Muscadat. Muscadet. I don't know. Maybe I spelled that wrong, but it's made in the Loire Valley in France, and it should be inexpensive if you can find it. And it's just slightly effervescent, fairly little alcohol, maybe floating around that like 11 to 12% a range, and it's just, you just get it super cold, and it's the most refreshing thing. Like, you can pour it into like a solo cup and just chug it. I feel the same way about Vino Verde, which is a really low alcohol wine from Portugal, and that's also kind of effervescent. And that's like you could drink a bottle of that, because I think.
Can you explain that
I
word
know,
that you
my
just
sister
said?
is really, it's green wine. My sister's really into it.
Yeah, so it's not actually green, but that's what it's like a fresh. They're trying to use that word for freshness.
Okay.
But effervescent, there's like, with Vino Verde, they actually add carbonation to it.
Really?
Like
They
a-
force
like-
carbonate it? They don't
Yeah,
bottle
but like,
condition?
no, it's so cheap that like they wouldn't be able to like afford to do that. Like, but it's just like a little teeny tiny bit, and it just makes that like really nice. I feel like I'm talking really fast again. Sorry. That really nice.
I
Sounds
called her
normal
out on
speed
that
coming
over
through the
text.
internet. I don't know what's going on.
And my
your
third
end.
glass of wine.
Yeah.
By the way, crushable is such an American concept. I love it. I use that word all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a real crushable burger.
Number one
beer,
drinkers.
Wine. Like, oh yeah, that TV show is real crushable or bingeable. Like, it's such an American
Yeah.
word. Like, yeah, more. Faster.
Bro,
Give me
I
it.
crushed.
It's good. I want more then. Yeah, I love it.
You don't want to use the word bingeable with alcohol because it implies something that you're not trying to say.
Right. Yeah.
Or
I
maybe
had a
you
doctor-
are and you're trying to
virtual
mask
I
it.
think it's
don't know.
healthier to binge drink than binge Netflix, personally. I mean, for your mind.
but
maybe
it's
not your
healthier to
body.
crush drink than to binge drink.
I had a virtual
Mm-hmm.
doctor's appointment yesterday, and it had nothing to do with drinking. It was, and for literally 20 minutes in like my pre-check-in, they asked me questions about like alcohol and drugs, about whether like I'm
That's 'cause
abusing them,
it's
and
COVID.
that's just what they do.
No, I think that's because they know everyone's getting fucked up at home.
Wait,
right
they
now.
said, are you crushing alcohol in quarantine?
Basically,
They
On a
actually
scale of
used
one
the
to
phrase
crush.
like check mark if you are crushing, binging.
Yeah.
They had all.
Would
the
you describe it
categories.
as killing it
Abstaining,
or
crushing,
crushing?
binging.
Yeah.
Full
they definitely
blown.
lied. They were
Full
like,
blown.
one of the questions was, has a family or friend ever told you that they have a problem with your drinking? And I was like, no, that's never.
Directly,
Maybe my
indirectly?
dog one
Yeah.
night when I was really
Do
weak.
exaggerated eye
implied
rolls
it?
count at
Yeah.
holidays?
Right.
They're like, have you ever woken the next day regretted how much you drank? And I was like, I think I
ever?
said once, and I was like, yeah, you ever been hungover? Come on.
Oh, Carrie, you
I've
never
never
answered
woken up
those
and been, like,
questionnaires
covered in blood.
honestly.
Wait, do they mean
Never
in the
woken up
last
covered in a
week?
blood in a field and been like, what happened? Like, but sometimes you wake up and you're like, I should have drank some water and ate a banana last night before I went to bed.
Have you
Yeah, that
ever
happens.
gone to Alicia's wedding, Johnny, and woken up the next
God.
day and felt awful?
Honestly, I should not.
That was
have went
hilarious.
because I had a fever the whole time. Did any of you guys get sick after
probably
that
had
wedding? 'Cause
COVID.
No, that's right. You were really.
I had a really bad flu. I almost didn't come.
You were sick.
But
I forgot.
I was
about
so sick, but I was like, I haven't seen these people in forever. I was like, when am I going to get to see Alycia and Bob?
you really
I haven't
sol-
seen you guys in like 3 years. I was
Yeah,
like,
you
we're moving
soldiered
to the
through
West
that,
Coast.
right?
You were in rough
So-
shape the night before the wedding, and then you seemed better on the wedding day.
Well, because of all the alcohol, it kind of.
I remember my
distracted me.
throat started tickling on wedding day.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
probably
had
for
been
me.
hanging out with you, Johnny, so I just
Yeah.
did the chugging. I was gurgling whiskey, just being like,
Yeah.
trying to kill whatever's in my throat.
The flask.
Dude, I
the
was
flask
so
really
sick.
came
I
in
was so
clutch.
delirious.
Yeah, for that.
I
yeah.
that was probably the worst hangover I had the next day. Like
You were
Eric
rough.
pulling
You were in
over,
rough shape.
and I just had to like sit on the side of the road. I thought I was going to
You guys
die.
missed
He
the
thought he was
ferry.
gonna die.
Yeah.
We did miss the ferry.
Well, we missed the first
Oh
ferry, but
my.
we got the second one.
Because Johnny
I should. Well, not only should I not have went, but like I stayed up with everyone until 4 a.m. and drank like
but
10,
you
20
didn't
drinks or
drink
whatever.
much wine though.
No.
Bring it back
No.
to the wine. Alicia's been quiet for like a while because we keep talking.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're talking.
We're talking about her
I'm
wedding.
Talking
We're
about my
talking about
wedding.
Yeah. But I think that's why my side of the wedding episode came off harsh, is because like I was in such discomfort that maybe I was a little grumpy.
I didn't think that you were harsh. I thought that I just was listening to it, and I'm like, wait a minute, two of these people have never even had a wedding.
No, they were
only
legit
been to a few.
assholes. All three of them. I listened.
it
I
was
was like,
all
what the
I'm
three.
pretty
fuck?
sure Johnny was a bigger asshole than me.
I thought so.
Kara messaged me several times while listening to it, like, dude, you should call them and apologize. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? No, they don't even listen.
I remember after listening to that, I went to like a I mean, this can probably be edited out because no one cares about this. I went to like a
We
it
don't
was like
edit.
I don't know, Fourth. You don't. Like
This
a
is
4th
live.
of July party at Spazzato and Rob's house, and Drew shows up, and we're talking about the wedding. We're talking about their wedding, and I'm like. Drew asked me, he's like, oh, did you listen to that the episode about the weddings? And I was like, yeah, I did. I said, I'm going to fucking call Johnny tomorrow. I said, this is ridiculous.
You should have. I would have been so mad.
No,
in our defense, we love the couple.
The ceremony
Absolutely
was
love
perfect.
the couple.
And that's the part that matters, you know?
No,
reason
seriously,
that
100%.
The reason I didn't call him out on it immediately is because, like, you know, we've been talking for a while about getting on the show and talking about wine. And so I was like, no, I'm just going to wait till I'm on there.
And then skewer.
But anyway,
I don't remember the episode entirely, but if I remember correctly, Johnny was laying it on the heaviest
Johnny
in
was
terms of
laying it on.
complaining about
I'm
the
the
food.
only one. I'm the only one who's been involved
Hold
in the behind the scenes of a wedding. So you
the
guys
only
really.
thing. The only thing that really bugged me was that you guys were fucking complaining about the size of the ice buckets in your hotel room. Are you serious? When the fuck is the last time you were at a hotel room? Like, you're like, oh, ice buckets
We were
are so
complaining
small,
about
we
the
could
ice
only-"
buckets?
Yeah, you were complaining that you could only fit one beer can in the ice buckets because they were so small. And it's like, well, fuckheads. These
should've
ice
brought a
buckets-
cooler.
These
Yeah.
ice buckets
I
are
thought
made
Johnny
for a
was
bottle of
complaining about
wine.
the mold in the ice machine.
Oh, that he was.
Yeah.
That was. But that's just things like we didn't know about.
You didn't
you
know that,
either.
yeah.
Like, I didn't-
Obviously, yeah.
The only thing that I didn't like about your wedding was you guys had talked up this fish so much, and it was so.
We already did this episode,
but we
Kara.
were the
Spare her.
very
That's what I
last-
loved
We were
about
the
it.
very
It was
last
fun.
table served.
Listen,
like,
honestly,
we were literally the last.
We were very disappointed with the way that the food came out because the food that was served at our. I mean, not that it matters. Like everyone had. It seems like everyone had a good time. Like we were all dancing.
Oh,
dancing,
I had
whatever.
I had an amazing
But-
time, yeah.
Top 3 weddings. I've been to like 13 weddings. It's probably top 3.
No, my favorite 2 weddings they involve people here.
Yeah, I think my top
Yeah.
2 weddings are
Yeah.
both in
It was
in
it
this
was
podcast.
it was you guys and you guys. Yeah.
So, what the hell was it saying? Oh yeah. So the food that was served at our wedding, that was not the food. That was not the food that we tasted at like our tasting. And the tasting was it was, but it wasn't the same. And the way that they set up their tasting is they invite all the couples. So there were there was like 200 people at this tasting, so that they could make it banquet
Yeah.
style, and so that
That's
you really
pretty
get
cool.
I see.
and the food was amazing. So we're like, oh yeah, we're taking this. And then the reason the speeches had happened so early is because, you know, our coordinator came over to us and she's like, hey, the food's taking a little bit longer than expected. Do you want to do the speeches now? And I said, sure. But that kind of like, it was like red flag, you know, but then I can't I don't have time for red flag, you know, I just,
Sure, yeah,
you know,
It's
your wedding,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the food came over. I also got the tuna and I was like, damn. You know, it sucks. But then I was like, whatever. Like, I'm going to go dance some more or whatever.
Yeah,
So
you
did
don't
you-
have a wedding for the food. You have the wedding for everything else, yeah.
Did you go into that with the wine in mind, or did you like try to pair your food with your
Yeah,
wine?
did you choose the menu first and then the wine?
No, I chose these wines like long before I was even like engaged. Yeah, I knew that these were
The wine was
I
picked
gonna
out before the man. That's how you know she's a real
That's
wine,
right.
a real
Unless
wine
you're
expert.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love those wines that were served at my wedding. And I also chose them because I thought that they'd be because I didn't want to have Pinot Grigio, or Chardonnay, or Merlot. I didn't want to have all these like crap banquet wines. I was like, they're gonna be my wines. I'm gonna choose 3 wines, 1 sparkling, and one was this Ferrari Corrado, another was this red wine from Minavois in the south of France, and another was a rosé. And I chose them because of their drinkability. I said, anyone who drinks Chardonnay or Pinot Grigio, they'll drink Ferrari Carano Fumé Blanc. Anyone who drinks Cabernet or Merlot, they'll drink Chateau Dubier, Minervois.
I remember having too much of the red wine. It was pretty great.
A lot of people told me they had that problem.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think I
it was
just
a
had
problem.
one with dinner and that's it.
I remember you specifically said that this is going to be bad if I keep drinking wine or the red wine, and then somebody else didn't want theirs. They said, "Oh, I don't want red wine." I'm like, "Send it over.
Yeah.
I'll take
I think
it."
it was me.
I think it was you.
This Fumé Blanc.
Yeah.
What food would you pair it with? Does being a sommelier level 2 go backwards like that?
Yeah. I mean, we talk about food pairing all the time. I talk about food pairing all the time in my job because I have to work with restaurants.
What
food
wine
would go-
pairs with Fruit Loops?
I think
Can you have it in the morning?
That's
know
an
what I
old
think-
George Carlin joke.
Note: I'm having cheese.
I was actually going to go.
I've
in on
asked
that.
several wine people, and they never even tried. You at least looked like you were like, I wonder what. They usually just ignore me.
Pisco, that Peruvian, whatever the fuck, that brandy, I guess. It's that tastes like Fruit Loops to me. I think that would go with Fruit Loops.
Oh, good answer.
So what food would you pair the Fumé with?
I think it could stand up to chicken, but I feel like that's boring. So I would serve this with a grilled fish, something that's a little bit like a heartier fish, like a swordfish, or even like a grilled tuna steak, something like that. I think would be really good with it because it's a little more. It's got a little bit more meat on its bones. This wine.
Okay, I think we're pretty much there, guys.
I have one other question for
Yeah,
you.
let's get our final questions in for
Okay.
Alycia, and if she has any wrap up sentiments she wants to leave us with, let's get that going. What's your question, Jeff?
Okay, so I went to the store and I pretended as if I could possibly pick out a decent bottle of wine. So I was hoping I could just show you it and you could tell
Were
me.
you wearing your current outfit?
Unfortunately.
He wants you to grade his wine purchase, I think.
Yes, sort of. Or just if you have any comments or thoughts, because I again, like I said earlier on, I know very little about buying wine other than, okay, there are certain ranges, and now I know more about sulfites, which is great. But can I just show you it? And if you have any thoughts, I don't know.
Yeah, but I thought we were trying to avoid this.
Oh, we were?
All right, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. We don't have to have that
I
one.
just
Well,
like,
then
I'm scared,
instead of that, Alycia,
but what if
let's
he
say
gives me the bottle and I'm like, oh no, Joe, like you're not gonna like that, but he went out and bought it.
Oh,
you return wine.
Yeah, but you
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
have
fine.
a
I call
wedding
him a
if you
shit-
said our honest opinion of it.
No. I assume
this
it's
is your
terrible.
chance,
I
Alycia.
assume it. Yeah, Alycia, I assume it's a terrible choice, but I
You
want to
can
know
tell-
why it's a terrible choice. I want to.
You tell him
I want to learn
worked-
why I failed at picking a bad bottle of wine if I did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Even though her whole vibe, the entire cast was just enjoy the wine. It doesn't matter. Whatever you enjoy is good.
but
Yeah,
who
go ahead.
Who versus?
Yeah.
Luna Nuda Italia Pinot Grigio 2019.
Yeah, that probably is gonna be fine. I mean, it's probably just gonna be like light and fresh and chuggable.
She said it's going to be chuggable.
So
That's
sort of
all you
along
needed
the
to
lines
hear.
of what Joe was saying. When you go into a wine store, not being up on wine, is it a safe bet or not to ask the attendant, the clerk?
I think you should look around, maybe check it out a little bit, see if there's any labels you like, look at what price point, always have what price point you want.
But what's good?
The first thing I usually think that when people are shopping for wine, the first thing they're thinking is, this is my budget. This is how much I want to spend on a bottle. Maybe I can fluctuate $1 or $2, and start there, and then look around, look at the labels, check it out, and then go to the clerk and say, I'm looking for a wine in this price point. I want a white or I want a red. If they're a good clerk, they should be asking you those questions. But things like that. Just kind of like get in your mind what you think you might want, which I know is really hard because it's such an intimidating. The liquor store is such an intimidating place that it's kind of
And as soon as you walk in there, you're like, oh my God, they're looking at me. I'm pretending to know what I'm looking at, like I'm in a museum going like, oh yes, this piece. I love this
Yeah.
one.
There's 900 wines. Yeah.
Yeah, but the cool thing about going into a liquor store and the person that's behind the counter or the manager is, if they're not doing anything, they're bored out of their minds. They totally want something to do. And
Right.
if you can make it's kind of like a psychology thing, but if you can make another person think that they might know something that you don't, or that they can teach you something, that is something everyone wants.
You'll
to
get
do.
the best out of them, right?
So I think it's a safe bet to ask the clerk. I mean, check it out for yourself first. Trying to figure out what's my price point. Do I want white? Do I want red? What am I having for dinner tonight? That might be a question they ask you. And talk to the person behind the counter, man. That's what they're there for. And sometimes they might be like, I have no idea, but this one sells a lot.
Yeah.
That might not be, that might be a safe bet too. I mean, that's where I would start.
But it's a valuable potential source of insight. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, so Johnny and I've never seen Casablanca, and I don't drink wine very often. Like I said, I like Tempranillo. But we want to drink wine to watch that because I've heard, wine and you think about wine and romance. There's not many other alcohols that you think about with romance. Maybe rape, but not romance. So,
Jesus Christ, that was the
but
sentence
what
of the
would
episode.
you?
Maybe we'll
Yes.
open with that quote.
We were so close.
Maybe
we almost
not.
made it.
What would you suggest for a romantic watching? And I know that it takes place in Morocco. What would you suggest for that night for us?
Champagne, baby.
I love champagne.
Oh,
I
there you go.
love prosecco. What's the difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference.
Am I a basic bitch for liking prosecco and not?
No.
Okay.
Prosecco is the most popular sparkling wine in the world. By sparkling, I mean it's carb. It has bubbles in it. So champagne, there's actually a place in France called Champagne, which is kind of by Dijon, like kind of like northern France.
The mustard?
And the mustard.
It's
And-
south of the Mayo Clinic, but north of. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna do a whole sandwich joke. Just never mind. Continue.
So the fruit has to come from Champagne, France, and be made there in a very specific method that takes a lot of time. Most of it's done by hand, and it has to age for certain amounts of time. Where Prosecco and Cava is Spain's version of Champagne. It's their sparkling wine. Prosecco is Italy's, and in America we just have sparkling wine.
So it's Italian champagne for the American layman who doesn't know
Italian
about
champagne.
regions and stuff.
But champagne is the best sparkling wine. Like champagne is the best sparkling wine. The bubbles are tinier because they're like naturally occurring. They're naturally occurring in Prosecco too, but they're fatter for some reason. The champagne is the most romantic wine, I think.
Cool. And so Johnny talks a lot about whenever I get a bottle of Prosecco, I like to neck it. And he says that it gets you drunk faster because of the carbonation.
What do you mean by neck? You mean drink from the bottle?
I mean, grab the neck of the bottle and put it into your face.
Okay.
As a pirate would.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
Para would.
Yeah, there's something about the carbonation that, slows the absorption of alcohol into the large intestine, and it makes you, or maybe it's a small.
I think
or
it
I think it speeds it up.
speeds it
Yeah.
up. Sorry, and wait, no, but if it slows it down, because if the large intestine absorbs the alcohol and it slowed it down, then you'll be drunker for longer.
But that would take so long to get to your...
I think
Your
all the
anus.
intestines can absorb, small and large absorb alcohol.
So
I
it
always
doesn't
thought
happen in your
carbonation
stomach?
makes you absorb it faster.
Yeah.
That's why if you have like they always say beer before liquor makes you sicker because if you have carbonation first, it's in your
Right.
stomach and you absorb it
Or like
faster.
carbonated energy drinks. It
Yeah.
helps with the absorption, I think.
I think it's just because it's a gas. Like, alcohol naturally wants to gas off. Like, it doesn't really like staying in a liquid state. So I just always imagine that the alcohol, like, once it hit your stomach acid, it caught a ride on the CO2 bubbles.
20% of alcohol is absorbed through the stomach. The remaining 80% is absorbed through the small intestine.
Small intestine, not large.
Interesting.
Well, giddy up.
Okay.
Well,
This is
thanks.
from a Duke University site.
So
it's
yes, so if you're drinking like carbonated, sparkling wine versus not sparkling wine, you'll definitely get drunker faster and harder.
Yeah, we should clarify. It's not that you get drunker because it's the same amount of alcohol. You just absorb it faster. So you get
the
drunk.
curve,
Well, and-
the alcohol curve will be different. Yeah.
Yeah, and so according to this site, the reason that you get drunker faster when you're on an empty stomach is not that the
caloric balance.
food.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's not that the food is absorbing it or getting in the way. It's that when there's not, it gets into the small intestine quicker.
Yeah,
The food.
yeah. When you eat food after, this is something I had to
Because
learn.
there's not like
when I
a
took
burger there to block the way.
It's the
Yeah.
timeline.
when I took when you take like bartending certifications, a lot of states require them. That's like one of the things they teach you is like eating food doesn't really sober you up the way people think, but there's a valve going from your stomach to your small intestine called the pyloric sphincter.
Yeah.
And it's open normally.
I think
There's
we
no
found a
food in
new
your
episode
stomach.
opener.
It's open it's just open for like liquids and drinking and stuff because you don't need it to mix with your stomach acid. So when you're drinking on an empty stomach, it's going to your stomach and shooting right into your intestines.
That explains
So
what's been
if you've
happening this whole
drinking a lot,
podcast.
That's why
yeah.
I'm wasting.
So if you throw
Okay.
a burger in there real quick, it closes that valve and then it just slows the absorption.
Clogs
Because
up the plumbing.
the stomach, it gives the stomach time to break down the food longer. That's
And you're-
exactly what
yeah.
this Duke site just says. I'm very impressed by you, Johnny.
But am I
Thank
wrong?
you.
Am I wrong by saying that like the type of food matters, and that's why they serve greasy foods at bars because like fat is absorbed somewhere else other than the stomach? Like
You know-
in fact,
You
a
sound
fatty
right.
meal can a fatty meal can reduce the peak blood alcohol level up to 50% relative to that produced when alcohol is
Hell yeah.
consumed on an empty stomach.
Really?
yeah, so that's why bars sell like mozzarella sticks and chicken fingers because it'll like help you out a little bit.
With
Oh
my
there's
God,
no
you're making me
fries.
so hungry.
Win-win.
It's just so good.
Wait, what wine pairs with chicken fingers?
I think any of them. It's chicken,
Ice
right?
ice wine.
Mozzarella sticks.
Beer.
Yeah, that's the
call.
one.
Good
Yeah,
call.
that's the ticket.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Alycia. Side note,
Love you,
we
Alycia.
loved your wedding. I have no idea what we said on the wedding cast. I just want to
Hey,
make
you
it
grovel
clear.
on another episode. I got one last
We loved
question
your
I want to
wedding.
end it
Yeah.
on. I want to end it on, well, he's groveling. What is your take from the wine world on the hard seltzer craze that is sweeping the nation?
As a salesperson, I'm really jealous that I don't sell any hard seltzer.
I remember you warned us about it right before the wave started too, and you were 100%.
The wave
right.
came fast too. It
The-
went from like
no, the
nothing
wave,
to
the wave came
everywhere.
like 6 months after you said it, you said it's coming, and then within 6 months,
Oh,
it was
me?
people. No, Alycia. I
Alycia,
remember.
okay, yeah,
I
I
remember
forgot.
Alycia warned me, and within 6 months, we were at the bar right over here, and people were playing beer pong with hard seltzer, and we were like,
The markup.
I was like,
on
what the
it
hell
is
are they
so good.
drinking?
"God damn it!" Yeah.
I knew one brewery, their pints of beer cost like $1.50 to $2.50 to make, and they were selling for like $5 on site, so pretty good markup. But I was like, how much does the seltzer cost? They're like, like 30 cents to make a pint. I was like, holy shit. They're like, yeah, we sell it for $4
Yeah,
a pint.
right.
I was like, yeah, that's a really good markup. But how do you feel about it, Alycia?
I mean, I can't drink it. I think it's terrible. Like, I mean, and I'm confused because like it's supposed to be like this health thing. You know, like, oh, it's less calories or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's less calories, but it's only 5% alcohol. I have to have like 14 of those
Yeah.
to get a buzz. So, like,
Also,
why
it's
don't
filled
you
with
just-
all that aspartame shit to make it taste sweet.
Yes. Oh god.
Well, you got to keep
Oh,
it
my
at
God.
0 calorie.
Fucking nasty. Oh my god. It's So it's like, you know, when these. Yeah, I'm not.
I had one last week. My brother's fiance brought some to our house, so I had one just to explore, and it did taste like lemonade. Like it was a lemonade flavored one. It had 0 sugar, 5%. Okay, fine. Like whatever. You know, I'm always suspicious of things that taste sweet and aren't like you're just. I don't know what that chemical is.
Well,
Why-
there's a good reason to taste sweet and a not good reason to taste sweet, right?
if I squeeze lemon juice
Yeah.
into water and like it tastes like lemony, that's fine for me.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
I just taste it tastes like sugary water that you would get when you're a kid and your mom lets you get like a Slurpee or something. But there's no sugar. I'm thinking to myself, all right, something's off here. Like there's no rule in life that says you can win and not like get
There's consequences.
Yeah, there's
right.
consequences to what
there
you
should be. Yeah.
something's off. I don't trust those hard seltzers is what I'm trying to say.
So which kind of drives me crazy about it is because like before this whole COVID thing, I was like really on this like strict health regimen, and so like all these people are like, oh, like you know, it's only 100 calories. It's like what, 100 calories. A shot of vodka is 70 calories, and it's 40% alcohol. This 100 calorie thing is 5% alcohol.
Right.
And I really love to pour vodka into a glass with ice, put some seltzer in it, and squeeze a lemon. Like that's my go-to, you know, thing.
It's healthy.
And it's less calories.
It's definitely clear.
So that's what I don't understand about this whole thing.
Isn't a Miller Lite 97 calories?
What's your point?
I'm saying like
96.
might as well have a Miller Lite.
I agree. Yeah.
So
I've got
I mean,
two
that's my take
Trulies
on it,
upstairs though. If anybody wants to try one,
Nobody
They're
does.
raspberry lemonade flavored.
I think we have like 2 in our beer fridge, and nobody's ever touched them.
I'm saving them for the guests who might have it.
I haven't felt a hangover, like a hard seltzer hangover, since I was like in high school. I did it once. My sister left like a case here, and I was like, okay. And like Alycia said, they're super light. They're like 5%. Like you don't feel anything from them. So you drink like 6 or 7 in a few hours, and you're like, oh yeah, like you don't get that like bloated feeling. And then you just stand up and you're like, oh, I'm pretty drunk. And then the next day you're like, did I eat a handful of sugar packets? Like what happened to me? Why do I feel like this? Yeah.
Yeah. Did I eat 40 apples?
Because there's no like antioxidants or like probiotic, like live yeast, like anything you get from wine or beer. It's just booze.
Well, how many
sweetener.
grams of sugar are in one of those?
Well, a lot of them have 0.
0.
Most of them have 0 now. The
That's
Trulies and
yeah.
what's the other brand besides Truly?
White Claw.
White Claw.
White
yeah.
Claw, yeah.
But
Those both have 0 sugar.
But that's not. That should be a better thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just.
I actually appreciate things that say like we have 3 grams of sugar. It's like we tried our hardest to get rid of the sugar, but like we still got to put some in. But if you have 0, it means you're just like.
What are you up to?
You're pulling me a trick.
Yeah.
well, it's really hard to make beer with 0 grams
That's
of
not
sugar.
a quote. That's not a term.
Like it's probably impossible to make a wine with no sugar. There's always some residual sugar left over from
No,
fermentation.
you can ferment it out.
You can get it down to pretty much negligible.
How much sugar
Yeah.
do you think is in a glass of like what we just drank here?
I think there's actually a pretty not like it's detectable on the palate, right? Like
Yeah.
sugar.
Yeah.
So then that means that it's like
I
that's
might be able
that's
to
the
tell
threshold.
you guys.
Well, we can find out. I just didn't want to be on my cell
Yeah,
phone.
well,
but
I mean,
we can find out what
roughly
the-
speaking, it's probably like
okay,
like 5
that's-
grams, 6 grams, something like
that's
that.
Oh, that sounds like a lot.
So a 1 ounce of Ferrari Carano Fume Blanc has 0.8 grams of carbs. And so we, like, Johnny, most glasses are like 6 ounces?
Glass of wine, yeah.
Glass of wine, so that's 4.8 grams of carbs, 0 fat, 0 protein, 150 calories,
Yeah, it's not bad.
according
Yeah.
to MyFitnessPal.
A bagel's
Yeah,
like,
I mean-
what, 40 carbs? Like, that means you can have a dozen of these at least, and you're still way
I
ahead
just
of
know,
it.
like, there's an amount of, in addition to the carbs, Kara, there's an amount of sugar in there. Like, 'cause my current fiance, Alycia, that's
sugar
a
is carbs.
podcast joke. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sure, it's a joke. It's not,
She
Anyway, go.
did keto last year, and she loves wine, and you could basically have half a glass of wine without like leaving ketosis, which is like a diet where you don't have any sugar. So I think wine, I want to say like it's somewhere between 3 and 6 grams of sugar or something like that.
I'm trying to research right now what the actual number is, like how much sugar is detectable. So, okay, 0.6. This talks about carbs.
It could be
0.6.
what I'm remembering could have been a mix of the carbs and the sugar, because those are both counted the same with keto. Like your body basically processes it like the same. You got to keep your carbs under 20 carbs a day, basically.
All right, so Noticeably Sweet Wines, this really, really great website if you want to actually learn about wine. It's an amazing website called Wine Folly. Absolute best wine resource available out there. It's super friendly and just really great. She's really
Oh, cool.
amazing. Noticeably Sweet Wines start around 35 grams per liter, then go up from there. But I want to know.
Very
what makes it detectable. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what makes it detectable.
I want
in the palate.
to keep talking wine, but we should wrap the episode up,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we
Oh,
can
yeah.
just
Good
stay
call.
on the call.
Let's
Oh,
let
okay.
Alycia have some closing words.
I got it. Let's let's.
Hey, Kara,
Alycia,
shut your fucking mouth and let Johnny take over.
Can you just wrap it up for people that clicked on this because they want to learn more about wine? What's a easy way for people to, or what do you think is the most effective way for people to get more into wine and to educate themselves about it, or to enjoy it more?
And my experience, tasting wine and enjoying wine has been to try as many different wines as you possibly can. Don't, if you really like, Barefoot Pinot Grigio, maybe the next time you go, and you drink it all the time, but you're interested in branching out, maybe next time go in the store and find something in that price point, or maybe, in the similar price range that you've never had before and you've never heard of before. And then just keep doing that. Just keep trying new things and keep eating all the different foods you've never had before.
Right, yeah. Don't get stuck.
Yeah, don't get stuck.
Don't
Exactly.
stagnate. Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you learn about wine. Just taste everything.
Is there any like documentaries or anything that you recommend to like get someone excited about the idea of like venturing out from their comfort zone with what they already like, where they'll go, oh, I might try that grape variety, or I might, experiment with something totally different and see if I can notice what these people say I notice or whatever?
The only wine documentary that I thought kind of got away from the snobbery and like all the bullshit that the wine culture brings. There's a documentary series called SOM.
Oh, I love it. I've seen both of them. Yeah.
So the first one was total garbage. There was, in my opinion, one female sommelier who was shown on the screen for like 2 seconds. And it was just these douchebags.
What was her name, by the way? Because like I must not have even remembered.
Exactly.
Her.
So, however, in my opinion, Psalm 2, that's what I think wine is all about. I mean, that's when they...
Is that on Netflix or Hulu? I forget now. I feel like...
Netflix.
Okay.
And that documentary made me cry. Other than that, though, I think all the rest of the wine documentaries are garbage. Sour Grapes is pretty good. That's about a whole nother topic about wine, like fraud, and... That's really fun to watch, because there's a lot of Bordeaux and Burgundy in the world that are kind of priceless and sold at auction at Sotheby's. And there is this guy, his name is Rudy, who had this whole operation in a house that he owned. Total con man. He was able to make like fraudulent labels and sell these wines from his cellar at like insane prices, and everyone talked to him, and he got to drink cool wine and go to fancy dinners and never had to pay for anything. He's in federal prison now. But sour grapes, that's a fun documentary.
It's crazy how every industry somebody slips in as
somebody
a con
tries
person.
and somebody fails.
And winds up in federal prison, right?
Maybe we can have you come back and we can analyze that or something, because that sounds really fun. I feel like we could cover an hour on that.
Yeah, I really got to thank you, because even the swirling of the wine to sort of bring out the scent again, I can't believe how well that works. It's amazing. So I feel like I've learned a lot here. This is great.
Oh, good. Sorry, I hope I didn't drone on for too long. I don't
think you droned on ever.
No, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We're really good at interrupting on this podcast.
That's okay.
It's literally what we do. It's like the definition of Thunk Tank. We wait till you're in the middle of a thought and then we interrupt it.
And we'll probably yell over you while we do so. So.
Well, thanks for coming on.
You've met my husband, right?
Yeah, give him
We're
a
all
big
New
hug for us
Yorkers.
too.
But it sounds to me, Alycia, like to sum everything up, it's
to sum everything up.
Oh my God.
Oh, Luke coming in hot.
It's to try everything, taste everything, and like, share, and subscribe.
There you
like,
go.
share, and
That's it
imbibe.
right there. Like, share, and imbibe.
I'm just going to hit stop on the recording. We don't have to hang up on the call, though.
All right, everyone can go home.
And
I'm going to get some food and come right back.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Thunk Tank podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with people you think might like it. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. We have links to this in the episode description and other places. And for as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the lights on. And you also get access to a very special Drunk Tank feed of episodes. So every few episodes, we'll have a few more beers and record an extra 20 to 30 minutes of extra thunky, silly whateverness. So there's a separate RSS link you can get from there, and if you put that into a podcast player, you'll get your own separate feed of only the Drunk Tanks. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them out already, and more to come. Thanks for listening, and stay thunky.